Saskatchewan Special.
Live from the Persephone Theatre in Saskatoon. Live from the CBC Broadcast Center in Regina. Will the Spirit live on? For the next 3 hours, we'll celebrate the pioneer spirit of Saskatchewan. Those who broke the land, those who built our province into what it is today. We'll celebrate the young who are the hope for our future. And we'll discuss whether this pioneer spirit will carry us into the 21st century. So sit back, relax, and help us decide, will the Spirit live on? Good evening, everybody, and welcome, Saskatchewan, to a very, very special evening here at the CBC, and we hope a very special evening for you back home. My name is Bill Wright, and I'm going to be one of your hosts for the next 3 hours as we tackle a huge, amazing, big television project. It's very special because the network has decided to take the night off. That means we get 3 hours of prime time to do with whatever we want. Now, this is a huge project. We're going to be live in Regina, live in Saskatoon. It's taken all kinds of people to put this together, including these people in this control room, but they're pretty busy, so we'll leave them alone. Now, joining us a little bit later on tonight, we're going to have Joni Mitchell, Ken Mitchell, W.O. Mitchell, none of whom are related. Also Max Braithwaite, Gordie Howe, and Keith Morrison giving us some of their feelings on Saskatchewan spirit. As you can see, there's a lot of spirit here tonight, and that's what this show, thank you very much, that's what this show is about. This is a show about Saskatchewan spirit, and we're going to look at that spirit through music and dance and drama and comedy. I don't know. Excuse me. Thank you. As you can see, it's a fairly expensive show. We had to pay all these people hundreds of dollars just so that they would like me. Now, we're making our way towards the Galleria. Hi, Bill. How are you doing? These are just some of the dancers that we're going to see a little later on. As I mentioned, this is a show about the spirit of Saskatchewan. Now, all these people a little bit later on will be involved with some entertainment. We're going to carefully go up the steps here right now. We're entering the CBC Galleria, where a large crowd is gathered, and they too have some spirit. Now, one of my co-hosts tonight will be Richard Perry, and he's regularly the host of Newsday. I'll turn it over to you now, Richard.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill. I was warning the people here that you'd stand a good chance of colliding with somebody in the hallway. We're glad to see you made it. We have passed hurdle 1 in this fly-by-the-seat-of-our-pants operation. My job here basically is to talk to the good people we've invited down to the Galleria here this evening. We've got people from all over Saskatchewan who were able to come down here tonight, and they're going to share with us their stories about Saskatchewan's past and their hopes for the future. Now, while we talk to people here, I want you people at home to also follow the program and get some of your own thoughts and memories going, because we are going to want to talk to you later as the program goes on. We'll bring up some phone numbers for you people in town and long distance as well. We'll take your calls from right across the province. We want to know what you have to say. Right now, I would like to introduce our very special guest. She's been playing the piano here, keeping us warmed up for the past while. Connie Calder. Can we have a welcome, ladies and gentlemen? Now, we have told people here already a little bit about why you're here. Your ma is packing right now, and you were supposed to be with her. What's happening
We're
here?
supposed to be in Madrid, but we heard about the show, and so we put off our holiday for a couple of days, but we're leaving tomorrow morning.
Great, for Madrid. Moose Jaw to Madrid.
Moose Jaw to Madrid, that's it.
She's got 1,000 Saskatchewan jokes. She has shared one with us before the show. We'll try to get a couple more in before the night's over. Good. Glad you could be with us tonight, Connie.
Thanks.
Right now, we'll throw it up to my partner in Saskatoon, the host of Saskatoon's Newsday, Kathy Little. Kathy?
Thanks, Richard. As you can see, lots of people here at Persephone Theatre in Saskatoon. We have people here from cities and towns. There are some country folk. There's a wide array of ethnic backgrounds here. Now, some of these people are here just to sit and watch and enjoy the fun, but many others will be sharing their dreams and hopes for Saskatchewan with us. We also have with us the Yikes Comedy Troupe of Saskatoon. Now, in their real life, some of these people are teachers and laboratory technicians, as well as being writers and actors. Sometimes, though, when they get together, they turn into the Macready family, who trekked all the way from Scotland to Homestead in Saskatchewan.
Argus McGee!
Would you get that ox moving? You're going too slow.
I wish I could have brought my settee.
Listen, woman, we brought the grandfather clock and even the piano. McGee, get that cart moving. You're holding us back, man.
Father.
Would you keep the children quiet? I'm trying to stay in the rut.
Your father is trying to concentrate.
McGee, I'm getting angry. Will you pull out of the ruts and let me pass?
Oh, Angus, did you hear what he called you?
Right. Get it already, everybody. We're going to pass him. Go, Sparky. Go, Sparky. Go, boy.
Well, I hope you're happy, Angus McCready. You've nearly killed your entire family and likely broken all our fine things.
Oh, it's going to be dark soon, and you know how I hate driving at night.
Look, Father, up ahead by the train. It's a wee beastie.
What is it, Father? I think it's a wee rodent of some kind. Filthy, disgusting disease. What?
Megan.
I thought I told you to go before we left.
Oh, but Father, that was 2 days ago.
All right. Whoa, Sparky, my ox, whoa. All right, women to the left, bluff of trees, men to the right, bluff of trees. Let's be quick about it. Go! Wasting valuable daylight time. Would you be quick? There you go. Johnny, where's Johnny? Johnny, would you get over here? What are you doing in there? Come on, we're going to leave without you. Don't know what he does in there all day. Go, Sparky. Go, Sparky.
Oh, look, there's a Highland family over at the side of the trail eating. Hello there. Can you tell which clan they're from?
Judging from their tartan, they're from the Clan MacDonald.
Oh, could we stop and have a wee visit, please, Angus? I haven't had a good visit since we left that bunny home.
I told you already, we aren't going to be stopping for every McDonald's we happen to pass.
Oh, look, Father, up ahead. It's another wee beastie. It is a rodent. It's a gopher, Megan. Isn't he ever so sweet? Oh, Angus, stop. He's gone into the rut. You'll run him over.
Oh, surely he's not so stupid he'll stay in the ruts.
Look, he's standing up. Oh, he's looking right at us.
Angus, he's not moving. You'd better stop.
I'll not stop again, I told you.
Oh, Father, you better stop. You don't want to get us stuck in the
He's not so stupid. He'll get out of the way. Oh. Well, they'll run in time. Besides, I think I just cut his toe. He'll be all right.
No, Father, his wee skull was smashed right in.
Murderer! Oh, Sparky. No. We aren't at home anymore. Things are different here. We all knew before we left we'd be facing many hardships. We can't expect to come out here and tame a vast prairie wilderness without having to face the harsh realities of life and death. I mean, what did you expect when I told you we were coming out to settle in Canada?
You didn't tell us.
What?
You didn't say a word. You just woke us up in the middle of the night, told us to get dressed, that you had a surprise for us.
Oh, surprise! Oh, let's go, Sparky. Come on, boy. Hit the pipes, kids. Come on.
The Yikes comedy troupe of Saskatoon, well, it's little surprises like the ones faced by the McCready family that gave our pioneers something to talk about when they did manage to get together. Little surprises like finding your drinking water frozen over in the morning, or having to sludge through huge snow drifts just to answer the call of nature. Well, there are some very special people in Saskatchewan who work very hard to keep those memories alive for the rest of us. Of course, I'm talking about the volunteers at the Western Development Museum, and Jim McQuarrie will tell us all about those people.
It was just a century ago. Saskatchewan was a land almost empty of people, but full of promise.
So we seen this Western country in the 1800s. And when he went back to Ontario, he had the feeling that there were greater possibilities, that there were possibilities in the West.
They came out from England for land. I knew that was, eventually I knew that was my dad came out for land.
Sally Simpson and Frank Turcott are Saskatchewan pioneers. Their families came to this province in the early days of this century. They lived the history that's being collected here at the Western Development Museum in Saskatoon.
This is one that I don't remember.
The old a wooden separator, and the grain tank.
Turcotte and Simpson aren't just sightseers at the museum. They're volunteer workers, part of an army of seniors who keep the museum in business. They demonstrate the old farm techniques, lead tours, help restore exhibits, and act as very well-qualified consultants because they were there. Their families were among the first to break the land and brave the cold of the Saskatchewan prairie.
The snow was terribly deep, and it started early, very early, and continued late into the spring. I remember him telling us that in May, late in May, when he was seeding some crop, that the drill was still running through small snowdrifts.
It took determination to survive the long, cold winters, and it took courage to survive the years of isolation.
We never had a doctor. I never saw a doctor till my first child was born.
Sally Simpson was 5 when her family came to Saskatchewan from England almost 80 years ago. She says the children never really understood the price of being a homesteader, leaving friends and family so far behind.
When we'd go for the mail, we'd hitch up the 2 oxen and the stone boat, put a box on, my mother would sit on the box. We kids used to jump around. We would run, chase gophers, and get back on and have a real good time because we were going on a kind of a holiday. It took you all day. We were 12 miles from the boathouse. So then when Mom would get there and if she was mail, she cried. If there was no mail, she cried. So us kids, we couldn't understand it. Why we even went for the mail? Because Mom cried all the time anyway.
Frank Turcotte was born on a Saskatchewan homestead in a sod hut. They were primitive homes made from prairie soil, but Turcotte says they had their advantages.
There were 2 real good features of our sod house. It was warm in winter, and it was cool in summer. One problem that they had was to put a roof on it. If they weren't careful in building one of those roofs, concentrating on it, rain would come and it would continue to rain for about 3 days after in the sod shack.
Turcotte's most vivid memories are of how hard his father worked to build his piece of Saskatchewan.
He would go out with the oxen and a walking plow, and he would plow till roughly 9 o'clock or thereabouts, maybe 8:39. Then he'd turn them loose. Then he would take his team of horses and he would go in to where they were grading the railroad, and he would work on that grade till late in the afternoon, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. Come home, look after his horses, have a meal, round up his oxen, and plow till dark.
The Western Development Museum is a monument to the hard-working pioneers who built this province. Theirs was an incredible accomplishment, a story of sacrifice and vision that volunteers like Simpson and Turcotte are helping to keep alive.
I feel that it's terrifically important because the way I look at it is that you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you have been.
I don't want to live in it. You know what I mean? I don't want to say, oh, well, it was wonderful in the old times. It wasn't. There was no doctors, no schools, no hospitals, nothing like that. But we have all of that now, but there's something that draws you back. I don't know why, but like the museum is like second home to me.
Was a young girl when I first came to this land. From a country far away to a language I didn't understand. And I worked on a farm and I married me a man. And we got ourselves a homestead on a section of land. And blow you old winter time, you wrinkle my face with your blowing. Well, you've given me all that I have, but you've taken away my youth without me knowing. Well, we sure had our good times and our fun, and we paid all our taxes to the government of old Saskatchewan. And I raised up my kids till they finally raised away. thought. And the fact I've lots of wrinkles just shows how hard I fought. And I won't go, and you hear me? You can't take me away, for I've a will, and I've decided I'm going to stay. But blow your winds of time, you wrinkle my face with your blowing. Well, you've given me all that I have, but you've taken away my life without me. Oh, wind.
Saskatchewan brings two great gifts to modern society, silence and solitude. And so, in a way, all Saskatchewan people are inherently philosophizers. They can have time to dream, and then they go to work in a very practical way to build that castle of dreams. And they've done a fair bit of that.
They're not afraid to take a chance. They had to be that way to go there in the first place, leave comfortable homes in the U.S. or Ontario or Central Europe, go to a place where nobody knew them, where the living was, to say the least, very hard, and make a home for themselves. And they did it.
And I had the fun of being raised in Saskatchewan, where we could do anything we wished. We could go out and knock off a few gophers, sell their tails for $0.01 a piece, and go down to Roxy and get in for 5 cents to see a 2 or 3 feature. It was fun growing up, and it's still fun getting back, because there's so many people that you look at on the streets now, and although maybe they're going a little growth in the middle and lost a little on the top, but they're still the pioneers of the past.
Well, I have Hugh Harscott with me here in Saskatoon. I know you're not exactly a pioneer of the past, but you must have heard some stories from your father or grandfather.
Yes, you can't help but live in this country without hearing them, Kathy. I'm first-generation Canadian. My children are second-generation Canadian, but on their mother's side, they can trace their ancestry back, I think it's 16 generations, Pennsylvania Dutch. So we really don't know whether kids now are Americans or Canadians. My dad arrived in Saskatoon in 5. My mother came in 11. And one of my earliest memories is standing with my uncles who had pioneered out near Netherhill, Kindersley, and they wanted to see the old sod shack that they'd started in. And I'd heard about them, and I can remember being a boy 10 years old and standing there with these 4 uncles and looking at this pile of dirt, and that's all it was that had fallen in.
Were you able to visualize that they'd actually lived in a sod hut? They
had pictures, and I still have the pictures of that early sod shack. My mother lived there one winter, 1910-11, and they had come out from London. They were models in London, she and her sister. And it was so cold that winter, they opened their trunks and hung their long dresses around the walls to keep the frost out. I find amazing when people come to visit us and they say, "My, everything's so new." And it is. And I say to them, yes, it's not only new, but you must remember that everything that's here has come within the last 100 years. And I also find myself saying, and not only in the last 100 years, but everything in Saskatchewan has been done with less than 1 million people. And that is truly amazing. I don't think there's another place in the world that can achieve so much with so few in such a short time.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Regina Broadcast Center. Just a reminder before we go any further, you folks at home, if you want to take part in this program, in a few minutes I'll be heading over to the telephone, 359-1069 if you're calling from in Regina, 359-1076 if you're calling from out of town. Now, we want to hear from you tonight. Right now I want to talk to Jean Chura, who is Citizen of the Year in Moose Jaw. And Jean, I'm going to assume that as Citizen of the Year, you know a lot of people and their background and what it took to be a true pioneer.
Well, yes, I must admit, being in business in some 41 years in the city of Moose Jaw, I do know a tremendous amount of people from all backgrounds. And, of course, myself being born and raised 65 miles northwest of the city of Saskatoon in an interesting place called Crydor. And I always remember the favorite joke of the former Aileen Kramer, or the former Minister of Highways, Aileen Kramer, used to say, that's one thing about the Ukrainians. He said, the Jewish people have their Wailing Wall, and the Ukrainian people have their Cry Door.
Maybe we could get to highways a bit later. That's a good topic of discussion. Well, listen, I hate to ask a very general question of a Crown prosecutor, but Sir Kuyava is over here, and can I ask you a question about the pioneer spirit and what it means to you? I'll be over in just a second, but go ahead and answer.
The pioneer spirit makes me very happy that I'm here with a whole group of people. Because when you're with a whole group of people, it's easier to say, for whatever reason, the people in Saskatchewan are superior to any people anywhere else. And I'm not even going to say a word about the Ukes of Hafford.
Is there anybody here from Hafford tonight? We might get into a discussion of it later. Well, tell us about your own family and its background.
Well, why talk about my family? Why not about myself? I was a very...
The guy should be a lawyer, huh?
I was a very clever fellow because at age 3, I left Poland behind forever, came down here, and have lived in Saskatchewan ever since. The family came along. They were useful at times because we couldn't keep the house quite warm. We huddled together. It was fairly tough, but we didn't know it. It was a pretty good life.
Now, you know, youngsters like myself, sir, would probably accuse some people of an older generation of exaggerating a little bit about the days back in the 20s and 30s. I mean, we read about it, sure, but we don't have the first-hand experience.
I don't think that people my age that came from across the sea on a cattle boat need to exaggerate to get you fairly tough conditions. Mind you, the reason we came here is because we were living in a cave out there. So this was an improvement. There was lots to eat. Rabbits are no problem at all to get. And it was a better life than we had up there. And that's something we forget. We have it pretty good, even when it's kind of tough here.
Good. People are listening tonight. Thanks very much. Back to Saskatoon.
Thanks, Richard. Barney Cutts homesteaded in Saskatchewan in 1912. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know how to start except just to continue where Huey R. Scott left off. Is it with the long dresses hanging around? When the calf was born, and we were new farmers apparently. I was very young. I don't remember this, but my mother took the plush curtains to hang it around the stall so the calf wouldn't catch cold. Like I think we. When we first came to this country, I think we stopped in Winnipeg, I think for about a year while my father managed to get some kind of a house built. And this is in Edenbridge, and that's about 200 miles or so north of here, and about 30 miles north of Melfort.
What kind of house did he build? Was it a sod house or was it?
No, I believe this was made out of some kind of lumber.
Luxury.
Some kind, yeah. My dad used to earn money in those days. He was a tailor in Saskatoon, and he was able to, for a while, he was able to finance the house.
Okay.
And this area was a Jewish community in Edenbridge, and the people that came, and we all came from London, and of course, as I say, I don't remember a lot of these things, and I believe they were idealists. They I believe, even tried to start some kind of a social community in England. That didn't work, so they came out to Edenbridge, right in the bush.
Okay, we're going to be talking more about idealism in Saskatchewan a little later on. Right now we have to go back to Regina to Bill Wright.
211, Q Bill. Thanks very much, Kathy. You know, a little bit earlier we met the Macready family traveling along on their Red River cart. But long before the Macreadys arrived here in, well, what wasn't Saskatchewan in those days, but this part of the country, the Indians were here, the original pioneers. And when we come back, we're going to celebrate that native spirit.
Go to it now.
The drum has been heard on the prairies here for centuries. Tonight we're going to see Bill Britton and his son do the hoop dance. Now, this is a dance which symbolizes various aspects of nature. If you notice closely, you may see there's a symbolic grass blowing in the wind and some flowers blooming, and even an eagle as it goes from an egg into a full flying bird. This is Bill Britton and his son and the hoop dance.
Bill and young Clifford Britton. Thank you very much. You know, a look at the history of this province will tell you that events of more than 100 years ago involving the Métis in Saskatchewan are still very much a subject of debate. You can get into some very strong arguments about it. Here now is writer Maria Campbell, who will share her thoughts about her people, the Métis.
This is a special place for us, the crossing and the land at Batoche, because We're a people that are landless, and it's a place that we can all come home to and rest and walk the land and talk to the old spirits and tell our children our stories. Our people, our nation is about 200 years old. We're, as I told you, a mixture of European and Indian. We were the first labor force in Canada. We worked with the fur trade, and we're the voyageurs, the coureurs de bois. We were the people who hunted so that the fur traders, the explorers would have food to eat. And once the fur trade was finished, there was nothing for us, there was no place for us. And then the pioneers came along, and for a little while our people, again, were able to work as laborers. And my grandmother, I often think of her because when I think of the word pioneer spirit, I always think that the things that this land gave you made you strong as a people, almost destroyed mine. There have been times in our history when we've almost been lost or been wiped away by progress, but we always come back and we're strong, and our culture is alive and well, and we'll probably be here as long as the land is here.
On the South Saskatchewan River, there's a crossing and a bend that they call Batoche. And on the banks of that river, a battle was won, and the people were lost. Well, they've chased us once, and they'll chase us again. Do you remember, Gabriel? Oui, je me souviens. We have called Henriette. He will speak to us. Now will you fight for the land that is yours? Are you men? For the redwoods will come. Well, this time they must take with guns what once they took with a pen. On the South Saskatchewan River, small little holes the redcoats lay hiding, with only the Queen on their side. And Riel, he has God and a vision, but it won't fill their guns, so they know in their hearts that it won't turn the tide. So you run, Gabriel, for your vision lies hanging from a rope in a jail in an English town. Yes, you run, Gabriel, for your skin is worth saving. There are many like you who must run from the crown. Yes, you run, Gabriel, though your heart it is sinking when you think of the lives of your friends that it's cost. Run, Gabriel, and someday you'll return to the bend in a river they call Batoche. On the South Saskatchewan River, the crossing and the bend and the banks remain, but the people have long since been scattered. Town is still there, but it's not the same. But you can hear Gabriel and Riel even yet. They are whispering, you can win what once was lost. You can hear it in a rustle of the poplar leaves at the bend in a river they call Batoche. But you can hear whispering you can win what once was lost. You can hear it in the rustle of the poplar leaves at the bend in a river they call Batash.
That's great, Connie. Thank you very much. We'll hear more from her a little bit later on. When we come back after this break, we're going to take a look at a darker period in Saskatchewan history and try to answer the 100-year-old question. Was Louis Riel a hero or a traitor?
Here we go. Go to it now.
1885, when the eyes of the nation were focused on Regina, that's where Métis leader Louis Riel was on trial. His dream was to build a new nation for his people, but the federal government charged him with treason.
The first camera will be in camera 3.
The ideas which Riel stood for were controversial in those days, and they remain controversial today. Was Riel a hero, or was he a traitor? Here's an excerpt from Riel's plea to the jury in Regina.
When I came into the Northwest in July, the 1st of July, 1884, I found the Indians suffering. I found the F-breeds eating the rotten pork of the Hudson's Bay Company. They were getting sick and weak every day. I also saw the whites, and they were deprived of responsible government. Although I am an F-breed, the greater part of my heart and blood is white, and so I also wanted to help the whites to the best of my ability. I worked for them here, as I worked for them in Manitoba 15 years ago. For months, I tried to get the people of the Saskatchewan to understand the hand of God directing them, how best to go about getting their grievances attended to without resort to arms. And they were with me. We tried appeals, petitions. Petition after petition were sent from the Northwest to Ottawa, to that federal government in Ottawa. Petitions had been sent for years. But so irresponsible was that government, they hardly even bothered to reply. Instead of dealing with the just claims of the people, all they have done is send police, and more police, no answer but police. That fact indicates absolute lack of responsibility, insanity of government, insanity complicated by paralysis. And I was leading my people against this insanity when I was pounced upon by armed police. And so I answered with arms. I am glad the Crown has proved that I am the leader of the F-breeds of the Northwest. That is important to remember. It means that I stand in this dock not as myself alone, but as the chosen representative and leader of a whole people, the F-breed people. Can a whole people be guilty of treason? I beg you to think of that. All my life, I have worked for practical results. If I have succeeded after my death, my children will shake hands with the Protestants. I do not want those evils which exist in Europe to be repeated here. There will at last be a new world but not in so many days or years. It may take hundreds of years. Yet now, we make a beginning. We invite to this new world the Italians, the Poles, Bavarians, the Belgians, the Swedes, the Irish, the Jews, all are welcome here, provided only they help us with their work and with their money, and by acknowledging Jesus Christ as the only hope and Savior of the world. Now, by the soil of this great land, they have their start to make a nation. But who starts the nations? God. God is the maker of the universe. Our planet is in his hands, and all the tribes, the nations, are members of his family. To each is a good father. He gives their inheritance. But God cannot create a tribe, a nation, without locating it. We are not birds. We must go along the ground. And this is our ground, our country. And we will enrich it. And we will cultivate it. This is the genius of civilization. Honorable Court, that is what, as a public man, Riel has said. Of this, I am guilty. Of the charge against me, I am not guilty. And I am confident that for this, I will not be destroyed.
L'Oreal says he's not guilty, but sometimes we are guilty of overlooking the contributions that various peoples have made to our province. We've been talking about the homesteading, pioneering spirit that allowed people to come out and build farms and towns. I have Stan Cuthand here, who's with the Indian Cultural College in Saskatoon. Mr. Cuthand, the pioneering spirit isn't limited to just homesteaders. Native people had that as well.
Yes, that's quite true. But the homesteaders made the life very important. Very, very important and very exciting, because these people that came from overseas were greenhorns. Sometimes they lost their horses, and it was the Indians who went and found the horses for $2. So the next morning, the Indian went to the farmer. "Where are your horses?" He says, "Oh, we'll go and get them." So the Indian went and got the horses, another $2. What happened was the Indian used to drive them away, you see, and then the old farmer didn't know how to track horses on the wide open prairie when it was easy to track horses. The other one was the Indians had a lot of horses. Opuam at Manitou Lake had a lot of horses, and he sold a lot of horses to the farmers. And also Longtime Squirrel, another Indian who had a tremendous number of horses on Blood Reserve. He didn't know how many horses he had, but when he died, there was a lot of money left behind because they sold all the horses. But he sold them to the pioneers. The other one was French Eater. That was a nickname given to an Indian. He was part Cree and part Soto, and he sold horses to a Frenchman. It's a white horse, a beautiful horse, but the horse sometimes would fall down and had an attack. And so he gave it to the Frenchman for another horse. They traded horses. And he said, "This is a very fine horse." So the Frenchman went along in his wagon, and suddenly the white horse fell down and had a fit, and after a while got up. And so they call him French Eater. The other thing about the concepts in the language, or the Cree language, the hero does not exist. When you say, yes, Riel, a hero is a warrior in our language. A warrior is one who is generous, who is kind, who is brave, and one who feels and thinks for his people, and who is a spiritual leader. That is a hero, one who commands a great deal of leadership for the protection of men, women, and children, who will even sacrifice his own life. And that is a hero. And I think Riel was a hero in that sense, in that Indian concept. But in the white man's concept is quite different. What do they mean by a hero? In the Indian concept, a hero is not one who goes and beats up the little guys on Grenada, for instance, or one who drops a bomb from a distance and kills thousands of people. That's not a hero. A hero is one who has the bravery, the courage to go and touch the enemy. That's the hero.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Regina Broadcast Center here at CBC, and apparently we're doing our job. We have people glued to their TV sets at home, which is fine, but we want some of you to get up from the armchair and head toward the telephone. 359-1069 if you're going to call from in Regina, and if it's long distance, 359-1076. We'd like to go to the phones in just a few moments, so somebody will have to make a move. What we're going to try to do now, we'll be talking with Maxine Elliott from Regina, and Maxine, I know it's difficult to compress 100 years of history into a minute, but how do you view what's happened in this province since the late 1800s?
Well, I have to reflect on that from my own personal feelings, and I have to say that I am Métis in one sense, I'm Indian in another sense, and I am an immigrant in another sense. My paternal grandfather was from Scotland. Two of my grandmothers were Treaty Indian women, and my other grandfather was from a long, long generation of Métis people. So I can relate to all of it, and it was a very heartwarming feeling for me when I saw Bill Britton do the dance with his young son, and my Indian culture came out, and it felt very good, and it was very warming to see all my white neighbors enjoy the dance as much as I did. On the other hand, Maria's comments, I think, are very, very true in that the spirit of the Métis will never die. A war was fought, it was lost, but that need to be Métis and that be identified as Métis is very strong in the people. Economically, we were very depressed for a number of years. That has changed and will continue to change, and the spirit of the 80s is back with us, of the 1800s. With the spirit of my Indian brothers, it's very strong, and that again is coming with an improved economy and improved education programs and so on. So the change, I would say that we've had 100 years that were very hard, but the dignity, the pride, the love of this land, of these prairies, of Saskatchewan is still there and very real. And also for myself, I have to speak for myself. The wanting to reach out to, as Riel said, to our white neighbors is still there, and working together and forming a new land together fairly.
I thank you for coming in tonight. Now, somebody else who has been very interested in what's happened over the past 100 years is Dr. Lloyd Barber from the University of Regina. We've seen him on TV many times talking about this issue. And Dr. Barber, if I can start off by asking you about labels. And nowadays we seem to be tied up in Métis, Indian, non-status status. And has that confusion hindered the legitimate attempts of Native peoples to make a better go of it nowadays?
Yes, very much, and part of that's built into the law, and a lot of that was based on mistaken misapprehensions when the law was formed, and we, as a result, have a hodgepodge which identifies people in ways that they ought not to be identified.
Yeah, there's a great deal of frustration, and we saw that on national television recently at the First Ministers' Conference when Jim Sinclair had a bit of a confrontation with the Premier. You were there for that, I believe, and tell me about the talk after that meeting, and what were people saying about their attempts that time?
Well, part of the difficulty is that this is not a simple matter. North America was made up of a number of Indian nations, and nations in the sense in which we use the term nation. And some of the remnants of those nations in Canada take one point of view with respect to Aboriginal rights and their place in the Constitution, and others take a different point of view. And while some groups were terribly upset about the outcome of that conference, others who see their rights enshrined in treaties, which they entered into as nations with us or with our ancestors, are not so upset about it. And so to try and reduce it to some simple question of we, they, I've said frequently, you know, there's the Indians, the native people of Canada are more diverse than the white people of Europe. Scandinavians and
Romanians don't necessarily have all that much in common. The Haida of the Queen Charlotte Islands don't have all that much in common with the Nisga'a of Nova Scotia, and that has to be understood. That's a very important aspect of this issue.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of other opinions, we are going to hear right now from Joni Mitchell.
If you go to the North Battleford Northwestern Development Museum, you'll see that the two most creative peoples on the prairies were low on the totem pole, the Ukrainians and the Indians. The Indians at that time were very red-skinned when they came to town. There wasn't a lot of white blood. They were elaborately decorated, beaded leathers. White people said they stunk. It smelled wonderful. It smelled like frying bacon and campfires. To me, it was a very romantic smell. Beautiful leathers, the way they decorated themselves was exceptional. And the Ukrainian people also had a wonderful culture, all of which was suppressed by white supremacy and Simpson Sears catalog, No, that's no good, that's homemade, store-bought is better, let's order from this magazine.
Bill. Cue Bill. Cue Bill. Bill.
I was here the whole time. I'm looking in the Sears catalog. I'm trying to get some new clothes. They got these great shirts now that smell like alphabets. I don't know. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to see some of Saskatchewan's more beautifully costumed people. And I'll guarantee you they didn't get their costumes in a catalog.
Saskatoon now. Applause. And ready, camera one. Dissolve the camera one now. And you, Bill. BG music.
In a few minutes, we're going to give you a taste of the mosaic that's built Saskatchewan. But first, we're going to look at some of the events that have shaped our future.
3, 2, 1.
In 1914, Saskatchewan men were flocking to enlist for overseas service in the war to end all wars. In all, some 42,000 served in one capacity or another. On the home front, women, while doing their part in the war effort, were organizing to petition the government for the right to vote. That movement was intertwined with the campaign to ban the booze. Both goals were achieved by the end of the war in 1918. Wheat continued to be the king in Saskatchewan. In 1924, the wheat pool started operations and expanded to 970 elevators by the end of the decade. Prohibition wrestled with one problem and created another: production and sale of illegal liquor. And the automobile started to replace the horse and buggy. In 1915, there were some 10,000 licenses issued. By 1929, that total had risen to 128,000 licenses. Communities were no longer isolated from one another, and the people of Saskatchewan were getting together. That's right, and people are still getting together, especially when there's a chance for a dance. Now, tonight we've got that opportunity. We're especially lucky to have with us several different dance groups representing various ethnic groups. 4 of them all in a row. First up, we have 16 young people. They're aged 7 to 12 years. They're going to be doing a traditional Polish dance. Please welcome the Polonia Junior Dance Ensemble. thank you very much to the Halonia Junior Dance Ensemble as they all run right in front of the camera. Good kids, I like them. They like me. They're nice enough people. All right, through the magic of modern television, now we're going to zoom all the way up to Saskatoon, live at the Persephone Theater. This time, live Ukrainian culture. Please welcome the Yevshan Ukrainian dancers. Okay, thank you very much up there in Saskatoon. Next up, the kind of music that my father loves because it makes the hairs on the back of his neck stand straight up. Ooh, it's the bagpipes. They're going to be performing the Strathspey Highland Reel. Please welcome the Regina Highland Dancers. Here is Marge Johnson, and Marge, you must have really liked that.
I enjoyed that very much.
It was great. You noticed the one girl in the red outfit? She's just in on a 30-day tryout. She gets the green outfit maybe next year. Okay, finally we've got a traditional Romanian dance. Actually, this is part of a group of dances which originate in Transylvania. Let's welcome the Romanian Eminescu dancers.
la la la
All right, a big thank you to our Romanian Eminescu dancers, and in fact, all the dancers. We're going to take a little bit of a break now, and we're going to come back and take a look at one Saskatchewan ethnic group whose spirit is alive and well. Thank you very much. Some people came to Saskatchewan to escape religious persecution. Once they were in the country, then they were able to worship as they pleased. They also contributed towards the richness of Saskatchewan life. Peter Granger takes a look at the work of the Mennonites.
And take. The town of Rostern looks a lot like other farming communities in Saskatchewan. The difference is that most of the people living here are Mennonites. Before the turn of the century, a handful of Mennonite settlers fled Eastern Europe looking for a place where they could lead a devout life, free from persecution. Some came to Rostern. In the years after, others followed. Irma Balzer remembers those days. She came to Rostern in 1927. She was 15 years old. Like the other 22,000 Mennonites who settled in the prairies in the 1920s, Irma was escaping religious persecution in Russia. But that wasn't the only reason the Mennonites came.
Because it was the undeveloped West. I think it was partly a spirit of adventure. Also, they didn't have much money, and here land was cheap or practically for nothing. I think that was another reason. And another reason could be because the area is very much like the area we came from.
Oh, and here seems to be a typical place setting.
The Mennonites brought what they could to make their new country their new home. A museum in Rostern is a treasure house of memories for Irma.
And this, would you believe, is our fur robe that we brought over from Russia. I think I must have even have heard it, those sheep, which kept us warm in the open sleigh in Russia and also in the open sleigh in Canada.
And the young man would decorate the horses very beautifully and decorate the whole wagon with greens and flowers, and we'd all sit here and we'd hang our legs through here and then come back in the moonshine. It always was moonshine, and the young fellows would walk around beside their girl and sing romantic songs. It was very, very touching.
The Mennonites brought something even more important to Saskatchewan. They brought a way of life based on sharing and helping others.
Threshing time, that all the neighbors got together, and one had the threshing machine, another perhaps had the steam engine or the tractor, and they'd get to pool it all and all pitch in, and it worked. The neighboring women would come and help and cook and prepare the food for the 18 to 20 threshers, and it was a gala affair. It was fun.
And when the work was done, the Mennonites would share their food and drink.
This is a samovar that we used to make our tea in. You needed a metal, a silver, or a copper or bronze teapot. You put your tea in there, put the boiling water from here into the teapot. You never drink tea from a cup. It just isn't done. You have a glass, you put that much tea in it, and you fill it with the water. And you put varenia in it, which means a kind of a jam from sour cherries. You stir it with your right hand, and you keep the spoon between these two fingers. And you slurp. The better it tastes, the more noise you make. Only we Mennonites weren't allowed to make any noise.
Irma is still sharing things. That's the Mennonite way. The spirit that made them good pioneers is still alive, and it's spreading. The Mennonite Central Committee was set up to assist those who need help.
We have transferred to our brethren and sisters across the country and in Saskatchewan and in Canada, wherever it is needed. We have over 1,000 MCC workers now in different countries of the world, teaching better methods of agriculture, showing how they can work it better.
Irma says the Mennonites will always put others first. Doing that, she says, has given her the life she cherishes so much.
I always have enough or more than enough to eat. I have enough to dress and keep me warm. I have a lovely home that is warm in wintertime and cool in summertime. We have freedom of speech and we have freedom of religion, what Father got us out from Russia for, and that is just worth so much.
So, What's it like to grow up when you come from a different ethnic background than most people in the place that you're living? That's something that Anna Prebyszewski knows all about. Now, your parents came here from Austria in 1915?
It's about there. My father came from there as a single man and worked for various farmers till he earned enough money to buy a little bit of land for himself. And my mother's folks had come over from there as well earlier, and they already were settled. And so when they got married, the little piece of land was at Fish Creek, and that's where I was born, in the sod house. And they farmed there for a while. Then my dad died he was about in his early 30s. So Mom moved into the city here, and we have started school here and grew up on the west side where the dust bowls used to blow and the big brown saw thistles blew across the west side.
Now, when you were growing up, did you feel Canadian or did you feel Austrian or a little bit of both?
No, I didn't feel Austrian or Canadian. Well, Ukrainian, I guess, because we grew up on the farm and I didn't go to school. We had no contact with other people, so Ukrainian was all I knew. And we grew up, and Mom and Dad would be out on the threshing and making stooks, and they'd take us, 3 little children, and to play around the stooks in our bare feet. I always remember that little pail of lard pail red with the green shamrock burns, and they'd put that in under the stooks to keep cool, and we'd have that water, and then they'd leave us, and that was our sitter.
Thanks so much for sharing those memories with us.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Welcome back to the Regina Broadcast Center. Here we are, Saskatchewan, in the middle of a big fight with the Americans over potash. They send me up here into the bleachers to talk with a family with an American background. We could be in deep trouble here tonight. Carl Lafayette and your daughter Vera are both here. Now, you say your family came here originally back in the early 1900s?
1906, yes.
What did they do, where did they go, and what did they run into when they came here?
Well, he farmed just 4 miles north on Winnipeg Street from Dudney for 7 years, but he homesteaded up at Rosedown area in 1909. And in 1911, he moved mother and 3 of us boys up there. And he farmed there all his life. And
was it pretty tough going back then?
Well, some of the years were tough, but we always had plenty to eat and to wear. You know, we had lots of stock, like pigs and cattle, and we had everything to eat.
I can picture your dad back there in 1909 or whatever it was saying, yep, I'm going to take the family up to Saskatchewan, Canada. I mean, do you know what the people back home thought of that plan?
Well, they didn't think too much of it, but they were all behind him because he was a hard worker there. He farmed there.
Let me reach over, Carl, and talk to Vera for a moment. You must have heard some stories from the family and from Grandma and Grandpa about days back then?
Well, some stories we've heard. They're always different stories. Everyone tells a different story, so it's sometimes not good to repeat it. But I know the early days, they used to have a lot of good times together as a family. There was a sense of family and community, really community-minded, which I feel is really important.
Yeah, you're a few generations removed from your American past, but do you still feel any links or any strong ties to the States?
Not really, no. We feel truly Canadian.
Good, you're from Saskatchewan now. Okay, we want to go back up to Saskatoon. Oh, well, instead, let's go over to Joe Fafard here at the Broadcast Center. Joe, tell us about your family's background.
Well, my family came from Quebec, which for us was the old country. We were glad to be in the new country, Saskatchewan. And I was born here, so were my parents and some of my grandparents.
Now, you've heard stories. You must have heard stories passed down over the years about what it was like in the old days.
It was tough. It was tough. My grandfather had to get up 15 minutes before going to bed. And
is that tough or what? Here we go. We're going to get into the how far I had to walk to school business. And
yeah. Well, I grew up in that kind of environment where we had to milk cows and do things like that. But we never thought of it as tough. That's what we had, and that's what we have today.
And you're not milking cows anymore, Joe?
Not much.
Okay, thanks very much for being with us. Now we'll go back up to Saskatoon.
We're here. We're here. And I'm going to be speaking to someone who's been instrumental in keeping the French spirit in Saskatchewan alive, Judge Al Sirois. Now, you're 9th generation Canadian, but you're way back. We're French.
1680, the first one came over here and settled on the banks of the St. Lawrence.
Then some generations later, a great uncle of mine was a civil engineer, and he came out west in 1885 to survey a good part of southern Saskatchewan. He was on a contract with the federal government. Then he went back east and he spoke to his brother, my grandfather, and I think he put the bug in his ear about the wonderful land in Saskatchewan compared to the little rocky farms that you have on the southern shore of the St. Lawrence and places.
Right on.
Especially where he came from, anyway.
That's right.
So my grandfather thought it over, and he was a bit of a pioneer anyway, so okay. He came out west and had a look. He went to Alberta, around Legal, around Edmonton, and then he came to Vonda here, and he went back down east, and he told grandmother, he said, I think we're going to move. Grandma says, I'll go anywhere you go, but make sure it's close to school and close to church.
And that's what she got?
That's what she got.
Okay.
So he came to Vonda, and that's where I was born and raised, and I'm still here, and I think I'm here for good.
Thanks so much for talking to us, Judge Sirois.
All kinds of folks want to get in on the program tonight with lots of stories to tell. It seems like the only way we're going to keep this thing on time and be off by 10 o'clock is if we hear from people on tape. We know they're only going to be talking for 30 or 40 seconds. So let's hear now from W.O. Mitchell and Keith Morrison.
Remember my grandma telling me that to find the homestead stakes, they tied a bandana on the buggy wheel, and they knew what that measured out, and they counted it until they hit. And they homesteaded south of Weyburn with a sod house. And my first 12 years, I was born on the prairies. And it marks you for life. Any geography does mark you for life.
In Saskatchewan, I was never confused about my place in the universe because of that harsh climate, because looking for beauty in the landscape is looking for subtleties, because you have to look for the good things. You'll learn how to look.
Keith Morrison, of course, now is an anchorman in Los Angeles. When we come back after this break, we're going to take a lighter look at a very dirty subject, the dirty 30s. But no look at Saskatchewan would be complete without a look at a famous Saskatchewan elevator. Oh, there's one here. Hi, guys. How are you doing? How are you doing? Oh, not bad. You guys having fun? Is this going okay?
Yeah, great.
Between the two world wars, a lot of Canadian history was made right here in Saskatchewan. Here's a brief look back at the way it was.
3, 2, 1.
The Great Depression affected all of Canada, but in Saskatchewan, it took on even deeper meaning. The province suffered unemployment, falling prices for farm products, and the added burden of drought. Everything just seemed to be blowing away, including hope. Many felt the humiliation of relief. A new political party was born out of the chaos, the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. The CCF Constitution was drawn up in the Regina Manifesto. The year was 1933. Regina would also witness the end of the trek to Ottawa. Authorities would confront disgruntled relief workers and end their protest in a bloody riot. It was difficult to find the humor of Saskatchewan residents or their traditional optimism during the dirty 30s. Now, you people might think you get depressed when your tulips don't bloom. Well, imagine how the Macreadys felt as they had to face the dirty 30s.
And dissolve. Cue Saskatoon.
Mother! Mother! Mother, is there something wrong?
I'm just watching your father out working in the fields. He tries so hard.
Why is he rolling around on the ground like that?
He's trying to keep the topsoil from blowing away.
Well, why is Sparky running around him and barking like that?
He's keeping the grasshoppers off your father.
Oh, he's a good dog. Oh no.
Oh, the swarm of grasshoppers is carrying Sparky away.
Bite him, Sparky. Kick him. Pull his wings off.
Oh, my. He was a good dog. Aye. Well, supper's almost ready.
What are we having?
Dried salted fish and apples.
Oh, Mother, not again.
No, it's not so bad. Set the table. Oh, you'd better dust it off first.
All right. Oh, when will this horrible depression end?
Now, Megan, don't complain. I remember when I was a girl.
Please, Mother, not again.
A young girl, back in Scotland. We'd laugh as we ate sweet cakes, and every morning we'd skip across the grassy glen to play games with all our friends, and there were parties, many parties with colourful dresses, and it was a wonderful time. Oh.
Hello, Mother.
Hello.
Hello, Megan. I got a surprise for us.
Oh.
What is it?
It's a rabbit.
It's a very small rabbit.
It's been dead for a while.
Aye.
Well, at least it's better than dry salted fish and apples.
You're right, dear. Megan, dust off the bunny and prepare it for our supper. Oh, here comes another dust storm. Oh, no, it's just your father coming home from work. Oh.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hi,
Father.
Megan, dust off your father.
Aye.
I'm afraid we lost Sparky today.
I know. We saw.
He was a good dog. Well, what's for supper?
Johnny has gotten us a rabbit.
Oh, I was looking forward to some dried salted fish and apples.
Father, yuck.
Now, don't you complain, young lady. I remember when I was a young boy back in Scotland. We'd laugh as we ate sweet cakes. All right. Johnny, my son, did you get any gopher tails today?
Yes, sir, I got one.
One?
Well, Father, hunting gophers ain't easy. I was looking all day for them crafty devils when, out of nowhere, I was attacked by one. He seemed to come out of thin air. He fell on me with everything he had. We fought tooth and claw and tooth until finally he weakened and started licking me. Well, I took that opportunity, grabbed him by the tail, and twisted it right off. Well, sir, you should have seen that critter tear across the prairie, a yelping and a yelping. It was the biggest gopher I'd ever seen. Anyway, here's the tail.
Son, this is Sparky's tail.
Gross.
He was a good dog.
Well, supper's ready. Now, where's the baby? Megan, did you not dust off the baby today?
Oh, here he is, Mother.
Oh.
Right, let's give thanks. Even though we're stuck here in this disgusting, windy, dirty depression where no living thing is safe, at least we've got each other. Amen.
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 Right, fork, knife. Why don't you turn on the radio, Megan? Let's see what the weather holds for tomorrow.
Okay.
Hope it's not wind.
Well, I grew up in what was really about the most difficult period the province ever went through, the period of depression and drought, dust storms. So it really was a very difficult time, not so much for people like myself who were young and young people were all in the same boat, but particularly for the parents who really didn't know how are they going to manage for the next month.
It was post-World War II. You couldn't get butter and ice cream. It was a kind of a third world culture, really. It was a deprived time, and the coming of the catalog was a coming of dreams, and the kids would squat down and read the catalog. When everybody had read it, it became the mayor's toilet paper. I know, like, the mayor used sun-kissed orange wrappers in the Simpson Sears catalog during that time period because there was nothing geared up. This was in a very small hamlet.
Welcome back to the Regina Broadcast Center, and with me is Thelma Wallace. And Thelma, I don't know if we want to start talking about what bathrooms were like way back then, but we were talking earlier about the Regina riot, and we saw the pictures. You were there that day.
I lived I was raised on the 18 block Angus, and I had the privilege of sleeping in the sun porch because there wasn't any room in the house. And I heard this noise, and I sat up and looked out, and I saw these men getting off the boxcars, and they were very orderly, very nice, and it was so quiet that it never even entered my mind to be frightened, and yet I was only half a block away. Then when we went to church, we were all told to take sandwiches and food out to the exhibition grounds, which we did, and they were very, very nice people. Our house was marked. I never found the mark, but they always got the fried bologna ahead of the rest of us whenever they came, which was every night.
Now, I don't know if it's your story or Nora's next door to you here, but you're talking about the days when they used to use flour bags for underwear, is that right?
Yeah. Make our underwear, yes. And the sheets for the bed and the pillowcases and dish towels. We had cotton flour bags in those days.
So everybody had underwear that said Robin Hood stamped across the bottom. Okay, thanks. Now, I'm told we have a phone call. Our first caller of the night. Now, earlier somebody called in and said, you know, we watched that hockey game last night, and we thought nothing could top it, but you folks in Regina and Saskatoon are putting on a great show. So that's a tribute to everybody here. Okay, hello. Somebody's out there, I hope. Hi there.
Hello, is that me?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I believe that the pioneers of this country certainly deserve all the accolades that we can give them, because they had a lot of grit and determination and courage and hope and faith. And while it was a tremendous struggle for them, they persevered and saw it all through, and I think we owe them a very great deal.
Where are you calling from, sir?
Estevan.
Estevan?
Yes.
Yeah, you got some people gathered around the set tonight watching?
Well, there are a number of people watching that I know of, but not here with me.
Good. Thanks very much for calling tonight.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go up now to Saskatoon.
Thanks, Richard. I have with me Sylvia Fedork, who's Chancellor at the University of Saskatchewan, and you've got some memories about a one-room school and putting on a Christmas concert.
Yes, I do, Kathy. This is during the 30s. I do not remember the dust because I grew up in an area east of Yorkton, and we were fortunate not to have the dust storms at that time there, but I do remember the one-room schoolhouse. My father was my teacher for 9 years. One year he had 70 children in one room in the school, and the greatest excitement for us was the annual Christmas concert. Father was the concert master and the violinist. My mother was the choreographer, and all the children took part in skits, and all the families would come pack into the one-room school. Heavens, I still wonder why the school would never burn down. We used to put live candles on the Christmas tree. Anyway, those are great times.
I'm amazed that your father survived 70 kids in one room. I mean, forget about the Depression. That had to be a landmark in itself.
It eventually got to him. He quit after 30 years. He couldn't stand it anymore.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, with me now is Peter Sharunas, who can do us a little bit better. What's this about one-room schoolhouse? Tell us your story.
We were a bit better off than that. We had 2 buildings with 6 rooms in it. I came out in 1927. I was 12 years old, and I went to school. I started in grade 1, and by Christmas time I was through to grade 4.
Now this was in East End?
In Saskatchewan, yes. And we had about, maybe 100 students in 12 grades. 6 teachers, so you know what kind of a workload they had.
You've got a great story. I mean, I can imagine back then, you were in Athens, Greece, and then suddenly you're in East End, Saskatchewan. Now that is what a guy might call culture shock.
Well, it was thrilling. I was lost in Winnipeg. All I had, you might say, is a card, my passport. Lost in the station, and all of a sudden a great big mounted police comes up, and I had enough sense to give him my passport. And he read it, picked me up by one hand, and he took me down to Winnipeg to some Greek people there. And from there on, I was passed from one conductor to the other.
And eventually you made it here.
I made it.
Thanks very much, Peter Sharunas. Okay, tough times back then. We'll hear now from Connie Calder, and her song is called Harsh and Unforgiving. Connie?
Well, the really interesting thing about this song is that they thought it was appropriate for the section here that we're dealing about the Depression, but in actual fact, I wrote it last year. So I guess the weather hasn't modernized any in the last so many years, and I think a lot of the hardships that the farmers faced in the 30s with their farms are hardships they still face today. That's where this song comes out. I come from a land that is harsh and unforgiving. Winter snows can kill you and the summer burn you dry. When a change in the weather makes a difference to your living, you keep one eye on the banker and another on the sky. But oh, I get caught by those wide open spaces, caught by the sight of that straight horizon line, caught by the sight of those lined open faces, weathered over trouble and time. 'Cause that big old flatland, she doesn't suffer fools like. Watch your step if you're new around, 'cause Brown broke down in a blizzard last winter, tried to walk and froze to death 50 feet from town. I come from a land that is harsh and unforgiving. Winter snows can kill you, in the summer burn you dry. When a change in the weather makes a difference to your living, you keep one eye on the banker and another on the sky. But oh, I get caught by those blue spring ditches, farmers seeding, hoping it'll pay, hoping that July won't see their hearts caught in that topsoil, watching the wind blow it away. 'Cause you can work all year, you can get it in the bin, there's no telling what price you get, but when it sells, you just hope you can hold on so you don't end up like the neighbors. Him and her, they're weeping as the auctioneer yells. I come from a land that is harsh and unforgiving. Winter snow can kill you and the summers burn you dry. When a change in the weather makes a difference to your living, you keep one eye on the banker and another on the sky.
Thanks very much, Connie. We're going to continue to look at the spirit of Saskatchewan, this time during World War II, right after this break. That was beautiful.
And PG and you, Bill.
We're here in the control room, and excuse me, I'll turn that down. The control room is a great place. Look at this. They get gum. We don't get gum out there. What's the deal? Cutbacks are everywhere. Let me tell you, over 40 years ago, Canada was plunged headlong into World War II. Thousands of Saskatchewan young men and women joined the war effort overseas. Some of them didn't come back. But for others, it was the start of a whole new life.
And take it.
1 million Canadian men and women were directly involved in World War II, and nearly 50,000 of them were from Saskatchewan alone. It was 1939, and Saskatchewan had just come out of 10 years of drought and depression. Like many young people at the time, Mabel Fenton from Melfort and Eric McRory from Avonlea volunteered.
A lot of young fellows joined because it was a real adventure. Well, of course, I was a little older at that time. And I think maybe there was bands playing and there was propaganda. There was lots of propaganda in those days. But I think behind it all we had a sort of a feeling that something had to be done. And I think it was up to us to do it.
You get swept along, like Eric said, there's all this, you know, you're serving. And I think maybe I wanted to go over and do something. I think we felt that Hitler, it was wrong, the regime is wrong, and something had to be done.
Mabel trained as a nurse at the Winnipeg Children's Hospital. She joined the Army Medical Corps at the age of 24. And while the war gave her a chance to leave the prairies and see some of the world, she remembers treating German soldiers in the hospital and then feeling the unfairness of it all.
And we were dressing their wounds and things and thinking, they're not that much difference from the boys, you know. And I thought, I really started wondering, what are we doing, you know? I mean, it's so silly because the normal people were just the same.
Thousands of pilots and navigators from Allied countries took their basic training in Saskatchewan. The province was chosen because of its high skies and sparse population. Eric was trained as a bomber pilot at Mossbank before he went overseas. It was his first mission that was his most memorable. He and a crew of 6 airmen were laying mines in the Baltic Sea. The Halifax plane they were flying lost an engine on the way out, then lost a second on the way back. An SOS was sent out as the plane ditched into the sea. Eric doesn't like to talk about it, but it was this incident that won him a Distinguished Flying Cross for bravery. While the plane was still afloat, 6 of the 7 men escaped through the overhead hatches.
Well, the flight engineer was injured in the crash, and they couldn't get him out, and I went back, and I don't know whether I thought I was bigger and stronger than the other 2 fellows were helping him. Anyway, I got to say, get out and get them, I'll get them. I was a little bigger than they were, and I cut my arms under and gave them a yank. I think the excitement sort of added to it, and we got them back out into the dinghy.
They laughed about it afterwards, but the 7 men were adrift in the cold, dark sea for 3.5 hours. Fortunately, they were picked up by a British boat that heard their SOS.
Eric said this great light came on and they didn't know who it was.
Yeah, I remember the light came on us and this Cockney voice came over, what a night to go yachting.
People developed many friendships during the war. Often you felt closer to your unit than you did your own family, but you still took every opportunity to boast about home.
We had a lot of patients that weren't Canadian. We had Czechs, Poles, they all made up our division, like, you know. And they weren't sick and very bored on this ward. So I was really giving them the gears on Saskatchewan. If you ever want to come to Canada, come to Saskatchewan. It's, you know, and I was just really building it up. So the next day I came on duty, I don't know how they found it. They presented me with this. And they said, here, sister, this is for you. And they pinned it on me like this. And I don't know how Eric says he doesn't know how they learned to spell it, and they don't know how they learned the crest, but they did because there was one Canadian. He was from Ontario, and they didn't know much about Saskatchewan. So that's been kind of a treasure for me because we had a lot of fun over how wonderful Saskatchewan was.
And Saskatchewan was exactly what these 2 young people had in common. Eric and Mabel met on a blind date in Darlington, England during the summer of 1944.
Well, I'd worked with this girl in Vancouver. She was from Meadow Lake. And we had been moved up to Yorkshire, and we were about 8 miles out from this little town. And she'd gone in for just the day, and she ran into a boy from her hometown. And they had a real reunion, and he said, well, our station is grounded tomorrow. How about bringing a couple of your friends out? So she came bouncing home. Boy, we're going to go over to the air base for dinner tomorrow night. And so I didn't know, but I went anyway. We got lost, finally found our way, and they dragged Eric out. I thought he looks nice, but I don't know.
In 1945, Eric and Mabel returned to Saskatchewan. They were married in Melfort. They moved to Eric's parents' home in Avonlea, where they live today. They've raised 5 children and have 11 grandchildren. When they retired, friends urged them to move to the coast, but they've decided to stay right here. As Mabel says, she's a prairie person, and you can't change that. Well, apparently that old blue microphone's not working too well for Kathy. We'll try to get back just a bit later. With me now is John Archer from Regina, and John served 5 years over there during the war. And now Eric, as we saw in that item, came back with more than just war experience. You had a chap in your unit who wanted to get married over there but couldn't.
Yes, he was from the little Pipestone, Saskatchewan, and I knew him very well when I taught at Wowota. And when we were over there, we suddenly understood, rumors get around, that we were going to go to North Africa. And so this young fellow who was in my unit came to me and said, look, sir, I was a lieutenant by those days, and he said, can I get married before I go? We're very much in love and we'd like to go. We may be away a long time, you know. And I said, well, let's go see the major. We went to see the major. He says, go and see the vicar at the nearest parsonage and see. And we went to see him with the girl and the man. And nope, have to read the banns, 3, have to get permission from the Canadian government, have to get this and that. It'll take ages. And he says, we're on 48-hour alert. Oh, dear. So the young man looks at the girl and he looks at the minister. He says, sir, could you say a few words and sort of tide us over the weekend?
But there is a happy ending to this story.
Oh, yes. He came back and picked up the girl again, and they presently live not far from Francis.
Great, super story. We're glad you could bring it to us tonight. Okay, now, we have to look at this from both sides. I'm just going to hop across here, and we are going to, in fact, meet a war bride, a lady who was over there in Nottingham or someplace overseas and ended up marrying a good old Saskatchewan boy. Catherine Berry, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and that was London I came from.
In the big city itself?
In the big city itself. And also I came to Mooseman. That was the greatest little town that you could ever come to.
Now, we saw the story of Eric and Mabel. They met on a blind date. How did you and your husband meet?
Well, we were together in camp. He was with aircraft recognition. I was on radar, and we worked very close together.
Yeah. What did you think of those Canadian boys when they first hit overseas?
Best damned soldiers in the world.
Now, when you came out, it was Mooseman?
Right.
What did you find when you got here? Was it anything at all like you expected?
I didn't really have anything to expect. Everything was new, beautiful, great. Lots of eggs to eat, lots of bacon to eat, and that's why I put on weight.
Did you ever have to wear the old flour bags for underwear like Nora was telling us about?
No, but I had to learn how to bleach them, etc., to make up the, the pillow slips and the aprons and so forth, especially for church bazaars and everything.
Glad you could be with us tonight, Catherine.
Great.
Thanks very much. Okay, we'll go back up to Saskatoon. Kathy?
Thanks, Richard. We're having a little technical difficulties here, but they got those fixed up. We were just about to find out about the Liberty Gals Club, which ran in North Battleford, or North Battleford during the Second World War. Now, Kay Nouch, you were part of that club. That sounds a little risque to me.
No, it wasn't risque. You see, I'd been through World War I in Grenfell, Saskatchewan, where I knew we had done a lot for the soldiers overseas, so I knew if any of our boys signed up, that we'd have to send them parcels. So I got a group of women together. We called ourselves the Liberty Gals, and we fixed up a flea market. Anybody could donate anything they wanted. One fella, for instance, donated a whole pig, and we got rid of it and sold it and put on concerts, plays all throughout the year. And anytime any boy came home from the war on leave, we gave him a party, a big dance.
Great.
That was north of North Battleford at Sandwith, Saskatchewan.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kay Nouch.
You're welcome.
And we also have memories from the Second World War from Nora Ritchie.
Pardon?
Memories of the Second World War from Nora Ritchie.
All I have to say is that I remember when my uncle came home from the Army, and it was in 45. We were living at the trailer courts behind the exhibition, and I remember him coming home that morning, and it was quite a joy to my grandmother and my mother. And we didn't want to go to school because he was just a hero to us, and we wanted to know what he's done and what was happening. And I remember them saying, you got a lot of time, you go to school, because education was important to us. So he gave us some shoes from Holland, and we took him to St. Joseph's School, and of course we went to school and we used them as skates and had the principal out there. It was a grand time. He told us a lot of things that had taken place, and a lot of our Métis people that had went to war, some never came home. And I remember the old people sitting and talking, and a lot of them were very sad, and a lot of them very happy. The gentleman I'm speaking about is Clarence Trotchy. He was quite a hero to us until his passing, and we always found him to be a very brave man, and we're very proud to have him as one of us. And at our office, we have a plaque of the people that served the Métis, and I know there's a lot more out there.
Thanks for talking to us tonight, Nora.
Thanks very much, Kathy. Still ahead, we've got another tune from Connie Calder and lots more, including my attempt to travel through 42 years of Saskatchewan history in 1 minute. I'm getting ready. Broadcast Center, and I hope you folks are having a lot of fun at home. We got to pick things up just a little bit here. We're just ending the war era now, and we got to get up to the present time. And they've asked me to cover those 42 years as quickly as possible, so here goes nothing. In 1944, T.C. Douglas was elected premier, and he and the CCF ruled the province for 17 years. Now, he's an incredible leader, but in the 50s, Elvis was king. Ah, yes, the 50s. Lots of stuff happening in the 50s. Now, that was the time when industrialization moved in. People left the farms and moved into the city. That was the birth of mining. All kinds of things happened in the 50s. I was born in the 50s. I uttered my first word, Bonspiel. T.C. Douglas was still a premier anyway. Ooh, then the 60s came along. A little bit of a revolution. T.C. Douglas left and went federal. Woodrow Lloyd was here when Medicare came in 62, and then Ross Thatcher and the Liberals took over for the rest of the decade. Beach blanket movies were a real big deal. Frankie and Annette, they were some of my favorites. Wasn't all that revolutionary. Oh, yeah, the Riders won in 66. Ooh, then the 60s came. Ooh, wasn't that a bad time? Ooh, I hate disco. Alan Blakey came in 71, reestablishing the NDP. He brought in the dental plan and the prescription plan to go along with Medicare. Community colleges popped up everywhere. They were more plentiful than new Rough Rider quarterbacks. Then the 80s came along. Grant Devine came in. He brought the Conservatives back from a 40-year absence. A lot of high-tech around. People had satellite dishes and VCRs and compact disc players. Everybody had a personal computer, but they've thrown all that away. For the sport of the 80s, bingo. And then last night, Canada beat Russia 6-5 to win the third ever Canada Cup, and I guess that brings us right up to date. So here we are in 1987. I might have forgot a couple of things. I'm sorry. Okay, Richard, that's a quick history lesson. Over to you.
Oh, great stuff. Now, what we're going to do now is try to get into some modern history. And to do this, we're going to look at the history of a family from Carlisle with great strength, great determination, and courage. And somehow they always found the ability to carry on and try something new when the situation called for it.
The grain elevators in the distance belong to Carlisle. Population 1,200. About a 2-hour drive southeast of Regina. Main Street, Carlisle. Unique for one thing. It's center of the street parking, something visitors don't ever seem to forget. This is Cochrane's hardware store, a fixture on Main Street for the past 51 years. Owned now by Boyd Cochrane, the business has been in his family for 3 generations.
Working with my father all these years is constantly reminding me that I am in a family-oriented business.
The store was started in 1936 by Boyd's father, Elmer, and his grandfather, Henry. Henry Cochrane had come to Carlisle just after the turn of the century to sell farm implements, and eventually father and son went into business together in the store next door to the hotel.
You had to pay as you go then in those days because you couldn't go to the government or the bank for any dollars. You just had to have the bucks or you just didn't get the merchandise.
Times were tough. It was the dirty 30s. There wasn't a lot of money around. Business was done a little differently then.
There used to be a farmer out in the country here that come in every Saturday with the sleigh, and in those days there was prairie chickens on the stacks, you know, straw stacks. And I used to give them a box of 22 shells, and I said, you bring me in a prairie chicken when you come to town. So I traded 22 shells for a prairie chicken every Saturday, pretty well.
Cochrane's is the kind of small-town store we all like to remember. Its wooden floors have provided support for more than just hardware. Over the years, parts of it have been a mortuary, a beauty parlor, a tailor shop, lawyers' offices. All are gone now, except for Cochrane's.
Are you changing your house all around?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We
isn't
have
that
pictures
nice?
of pictures that
Well,
are
isn't that nice? You sure got good choice in pictures.
Thank you. I think so.
For more than 40 years, Marion Cochrane has been working at the cash register, and even in retirement, can't quite get away from it.
It's been reasonably good for my mom and my dad and myself, and my grandfather. Everything else comes first. The expenses and the staff and whatever's left is what you get. And on lean years, sometimes per month, you hit the odd month where there's nothing left.
The Cochranes are typical of many long-time business people in small-town Saskatchewan. Their success and failure has always been tied closely to the fortunes of the community.
Times have changed only slightly.
Oh, it's wonderful how they've changed, too. It's hard to realize in 50 years, you know, the difference.
Do you think that the fact that you've been here for half a century helps your business? Oh, definitely so. Absolutely. I think it gives you some credibility that you have been here and that other businesses have come and gone and you're still here. And so it helps us, too, that we think, well, maybe we are doing something right, too, that we are still here.
In its own small way, Cochrane's has played a part in shaping Saskatchewan's history. Its presence has helped to maintain a way of life that is taken for granted here. But without this store and many others like it across the province, an important part of the Saskatchewan pioneer tradition would be missing.
In a sleepy little town, a two-bit cafe, that's the place where dreams are started. And they'll take you away, but you'll come back someday. And I hope that you're not broken-hearted, 'cause the world is so grand when you don't understand how the lessons of life are learned. But the way people care and the dreams that you share are the reasons that dreamers return to the sleepy little town in the two-bit cafe and the clock flipping ads on the wall. And you stood in that door years before when you said goodbye to it all. But oh, the road gets longer the further down it you roam. And oh, the feeling gets stronger for home, home, home. And the sleepy little town, and the two-bit cafe, and the places that now seem strange. But there's a hope in your heart that you were right from the start, that things in this town never change. 'Cause oh, the road gets longer the further down it you roll. And oh, don't that feeling get stronger for home, home, home. And the sleepy little town
With me now is Mrs. Anna Redekop from Herbert, Saskatchewan. And I know the first thing you want to do is talk about Connie Calder and what a great job she's doing tonight.
Yes, I think she's a wonderful singer, and I'm very pleased that I can be here to hear her.
Great. She was singing about a sleepy little town, and we want to talk about Herbert and the fact that, you know, nowadays people are saying small towns are dying in this province. You take issue with that.
Well, I think that we have just demonstrated that the spirit of the pioneers is still alive. We had a wonderful celebration the first weekend in August when the town celebrated the 75th anniversary of its incorporation. And we had people from all over Canada and the United States coming home to Herbert. My son, who is working for the government out of Ottawa, he works for CEDA, he was home and he was so surprised. He said out of the 25 that graduated together with him from high school in Herbert, there were 17 present at this reunion, and only one of them lives at Herbert. So he said that shows how people come home to Herbert.
That's super. That's super. Now, we have another story that somebody wants to tell here, and it's about small town hooch, home brew. Serg Kuyava, tell us what this is all about.
Now, most of my life in a small town, they came along and say, tell us a small town story. Since I know no jokes, I have to give you a true story. It concerns a fellow who came to my small town, went out on the street, stopped a stranger and said, hey, I'm new in town, where can I buy some home brew? The native says, look up the street. That is the Catholic Church, right beside it is the rectory. This fellow says, surely you can't buy home brew there. The native says, that's right, go anyplace else.
Serg, don't go away. Serg? Come on back here. Come on back here. I asked the question earlier about youngsters nowadays and whether or not young folks seem to be leaving small towns. As you meet people throughout the province, are you finding that at all?
Yes, I think they are. You need fewer rock pickers and cow milkers and things of that nature. You do everything by machine to the extent that you farm, and the young people are not there. In my small town, we used to have 3 ball teams around town. Now you have to import to get 1.
Thanks very much. Okay, we have to go up to Saskatoon right now. Kathy?
Thanks, Richard. I have Jack McFall with me, a farmer turned estate planner, and I want to ask you, Mr. McFall, if small towns are dying out, does that mean that the pioneering spirit is also dying in Saskatchewan?
No, Kathy, I think the pioneer spirit is living on. I think in listening to the people talk about the pioneers, I think that I can visualize that most of our forefathers came with some goals in mind. They were to own a piece of land, educate their kids, and practice their religion, and create a free society. And I think they've done a tremendous job. And I think who else would you entrust freedom to but these freedom-loving people? And they came, different races, colors, creeds, and they came to work together to create and not destroy. I think we set a fine example for the rest of the world, like places like Beirut and Northern Ireland, that people can live together happily and create and not destroy.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you might think that the old cooperative spirit is a thing of the past. But when we return, we're going to tell you the story about a small community that's really rallied behind one of their own.
And go to 5, dissolve.
Now, I know I promised you guys a look at how the cooperative spirit is alive and well in the province. But before that, we want to put an end to an old myth. And that myth is...
Ready to roll?
How are you going to keep them down on the farm once they've seen the lights of Gay Paris?
2, 1,
We were out in Saskatchewan a couple of years ago doing a piece called Sask Boom Ba. Kind of corny title, but it was about how the economic prospects for Saskatchewan in the long run are probably better than Alberta's. But doing that story, we went up to Clough Lake, the big uranium mine in the north. And we met this guy called Norman, who was the bus driver, one of those fellows you soon feel you've known all your life. Now, Norman was a talkative sort. He was from La Loche. Now, I was in La Loche one winter about 20 years ago, and that's as tough a place as I think I've ever seen. I'll tell you, it's not a matter of wrecked cars in the ditch there. They just, that winter, just left them in the main street, and the only jobs were building a jail. But anyway, we started talking to Norman, the bus driver. Said, well, Norman, you know, you got a good job here now, working for this big French mining company. Who knows? Someday they might even send you to Paris. And he looked at me as though I was completely stupid and said, Paris? Who'd ever want to go to Paris? They let the dogs dump all over the street. Well, I don't know. Norman and I perhaps have the same prejudices about Paris, but also the same feelings about home. I've worked in, I guess, some 70 or 80 countries in the world, and I'll tell you, there's nothing quite like coming into Regina, starting that drive up to La Ronge, where I go to catch fish every summer, or going to Swift Current to see my dad. There's something about the prairie and the light just before it gets dusk that I think is as spectacular as anything you'll ever see, and I suppose that's one of the reasons a lot of us never really leave Saskatchewan.
Eric Melling of CBC's Fifth Estate. You know, tonight we've been talking a lot about the hardships faced by the people in the early days of Saskatchewan and how a cooperative spirit helped them get through those tough times. Well, hardships are still with us today, but so is that cooperative spirit.
This is the farm of Jean and Kirby Hansen near Theodore. They were a young farm family with dreams for themselves and their children, but part of their future changed when 34-year-old Kirby died this spring. Jean is left at home with 2 young children and 400 acres to harvest. But Jean's plight didn't go unnoticed. Julian Budzinski employs Jean at his ceramic shop. He's been busy organizing this project.
Hello, Bert. Julian here. The swathers should be coming in today, I think. The crop is ready to come down.
He and his buddy Bert Hasper called on area farmers to lend their swathers and trucks. Wholesalers were contacted for food and fuel, and area implement dealers to loan and drive the combines. Many people came forward on their own.
The cooperation was fantastic. It's unbelievable, actually. Some people were extremely generous with donations, with help. It's unbelievable who comes out of the woodwork if they hear something like that and said, hey, what can we do to help? I got a phone call the other night. One of the car dealerships offered a truck for hauling grain. Well, I hadn't approached them. They had read an article in the paper and they're willing to help there. So this is the kind of support we've got, actually.
I started to cry, and we could see the human element, you know, the goodwill that could be achieved. And that's the way it's been carried all the way through. And everybody, it's just snowballed. Everybody has wanted to help, and it's just been a really wonderful feeling. It was good then, and there's never been a moment where it wasn't good. Those guys on the swathers, they're wonderful men. Well, as a matter of fact, 3 of them have stopped their work today to come and swath. So it's pretty nice. I think an awful lot of them. I don't know on what kind of a scale, but they're at the top.
Karen Radish is Jean's friend and partner in a catering business. She'll be responsible for organizing the food on Harvest Day.
It started out to be a small project that is now grown into a very large community project, taken in, you know, communities outside of Theodore, and I think she feels good about it. I think she feels that the people have come out to help her, and I think maybe at first she thought everyone was doing it just for Kirby, and now she realizes that they're doing it for his wife and his children, and I think that she feels good about that.
A single combine would take 6 days to harvest Jean's fields. They expect 7 brand new combines and will have the job done in only 4 to 5 hours.
The combines are supposed to be in the night before, and everybody's supposed to be out in the morning with their machines, explaining different features of their machines to whoever's around, whatever farmers are interested. And hopefully the harvest will start around noon or shortly after noon. It's going to be probably a little bit of chaos involved, but there's going to be other guys helping, look after different areas of it, so it should fall into place.
The day will end with a meal for all the volunteers back at the house. Jean knows Kirby would approve.
He would feel good about it, and it bothered him that he thought that people so easily and so readily said no when they were asked to do things. Like, I don't mean farm work, I mean community work, people grew tired. And I think he would be really pleased that people just, I never had to ask anybody anything. They just were here, and that was his philosophy of life. He never said no, and he always just went and did something, so he would be pleased.
And we'd like to wish the people of Theodore the very best of luck in that cooperative harvest. Richard?
Good. Thank you very much, Kathy. An incredible story from Theodore, and when you see stories like that, it really makes you feel so proud to be part of the province here. With me now is Jean Rowe from the city of Moose Jaw, sits on City Council, and I want to know what you thought as you saw that story from Theodore.
Oh, well, that's quite typical of what happens in the province of Saskatchewan. I think it's demonstrated every day. If there's anything disaster that happens, the people are right there to step in and give each other a hand. And, of course, I think that's typical of all Canadians, no matter what part of the country you live in. When something goes wrong and somebody gets hurt, we all go and have that pioneer spirit and say, what can we do to help?
We were talking before we came back about the flood back in the 70s and how you saw people pitch in.
That was just tremendous. If you had been unfortunate at that time to be living in Moose Jaw and was there when that flood took place, it was just marvelous the way everybody came out and just pitched in, from the little kids to the senior citizens, and helped and stayed on the job 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it took to get the job done.
Are you seeing that same kind of community spirit today? Because we do hear stories from Moose Jaw about how the downtown core is crumbling and things are looking pretty grim out there.
No, it's not. We're really revitalized there, and we're just standing up and say, hey, we're going to be counted and we're going to come back, and Moose Jaw will be just as lively in a few years from now as it was in the Roaring 20s, and believe me, it was lively in the Roaring 20s.
I think you've got some people here who'll go along with that, yeah. Do you see the spirit, though, in the younger folk today? Because the people who remember the 20s can relate to that, but now the young folk around, they don't have that to relate to.
Well, I think our young people have it there, but it's just that there's not so many things for them to do now as they did when we were their age. But they have that spirit, and all they want is leadership and somebody be able to tell them what to do, and they're out there, and they're quite capable of doing it.
And you're the leaders now. Good. Thanks very much. Jean Rowe from Moose Jaw. Let's go back up to Saskatoon.
Thanks, Richard. We have a story of a cooperative spirit here as well with Frances Pettit. Frances, tell us your story.
I had two stories, really. One little one. No one has mentioned the doctor's strike in the 1962, and I'm sure a lot of you remember it. I'd had a heart attack that year, and I was in the hospital. And I can still remember the morning my doctor came in and said, we're all going on strike. If you want to stay in the hospital, you can, but there'll be no one here to take care of you. So I went home. But really, what I wanted to say was that seniors of today enjoy many benefits that they wouldn't have had if it hadn't been for the cooperation of the seniors in the 30s and the 40s. Seniors banded together to get the benefits that the seniors today are experiencing, the Meals on Wheels, the subsidized housing, the various things that we all take for granted. But it is only a modern thing. It hasn't lasted too long. And I think the next generation of seniors will benefit from the cooperation that was shown by the seniors of yesterday.
And will that kind of spirit continue?
I'm sure it will. I think of pioneers today when I think of the young people who are going into space exploration, into various other kinds. We have other frontiers today. We have other pioneers. But we will have the pioneer spirit. I believe it's built in humanity to be pioneers, and our young people will show it too.
Thank you, Frances.
Welcome back to Regina. With me now is Daryl Eberhardt, and we were talking about a flood back in the 70s, Daryl, but you want to relate to a different kind of flood, different time.
Yeah, I was living at home in 1975 when we got flooded, but in 1982 I was out living on my own, and I get to tell a neat story about Susan in here, with the producer that's been talking to us all night. Well, we had a horrendous downpour, and some of the sewers backed up and filled people's basements with water 4 and 5 feet deep. And Susan had just bought a brand new car, except it was sitting in a low part of the street. And so when she went out to check on her car and opened the doors, the water came out of the car, brand new. And we're really pleased that the younger folks are keeping the spirit alive, too. All of us were singles, sort of, well, we won't say what age group. But anyway, the younger side are keeping the community spirit and everything going and helping out.
And I presume the moral to this story is you all pitched in and you helped Susan. Did you buy her a new car or what?
No, I don't think we're going to buy her a new car, but we all did pitch in the community.
Yeah. As you sit here and you watch a lot of the stories, I mean, we're going back to the war years, talking about the Depression. Do you ever think that maybe the young folk are being left out a little bit here? Because, you know, it's very difficult for us to relate to things that happened back in the 20s and 30s.
Well, I think your grandparents and parents and those people keep that alive for you, but we're going through our own sort of depression and things with unemployment and things like that. So we have our own things to conquer.
We'll have our own stories in 20 or 30 years' time. Okay, sure. Thanks very much, Daryl. Now let's go over to Bill Wright. Bill?
Thanks very much, Richard. There are many examples, of course, of very talented Saskatchewan people that have left their home province to seek fame and fortune. When we come back, we're going to meet some people from a different world whose travels have brought them here to Saskatchewan to a new home.
Result of 3. Go.
Many people who immigrated to Saskatchewan came here by choice, but others had very little time to think about where they were going. They just wanted to escape from their own country. When they got here, they found a land and a culture they knew very little about.
This is Vin Van Nieuwen, his wife Zung, and their 2 children, Elizabeth and Rita. Vin was an officer in the South Vietnam Navy before he was captured in 1975 and sentenced to life in a re-education camp.
We have no hope to getting out, to be released. We have to escape from the jail or we will be die there. And we have no hope to get married or build our normal life.
He was physically and mentally tortured in the camp. He considers himself very lucky today. He escaped and has a new life in Regina.
Now let us begin Part A with questions.
He's faced with new challenges here, including the language barrier.
We never prepared to migrate. We just escaped to our country by chance. We have to start to learn the language, the new language from the beginning. And because we are too old to learn fast another language, we have to study English every day until we die, to have enough English to communicate or to work.
Both Vin and his wife have steady jobs, and while they're learning the new language, they've also had to accept the new culture.
There are no equality between husband and wife in Vietnam. For Vietnamese culture, the husband is the boss, and the wife a little bit like a follower. But when we move into Canada, and we feel that the husband and wife is equal, and we have to adapt it. I found it is not easy. I never wash dishes in Vietnam, but now in Canada every day after having dinner, I'm the only one who wash dishes.
Elizabeth and Rita were both born in Regina. They attended daycare while their parents worked. Vin hopes that his children will benefit from their 2 cultures.
I like them to be bicultural, and I like them to learn about my past, so that they will know how terrible I was before I came to Canada, and how lucky they are because they was born in Canada.
Vin says children in Vietnam are raised to be dependent on their parents, but it's different here.
I feel that when they grow up to 16 or 17, I feel that I predict that in my family we have some kind of culture conflict.
Canadian woman, you know.
Like most parents, Jung's hopes are for her children.
I don't have a big room, you know. I just hope I'm healthy enough so I can go work and take care of my baby good. And when they grow up, they can be smart girl and have high education. And not like their mom. Maybe they can be better.
Vin says Regina is his rebirth place, Canada his second home country. And the thing that makes him the happiest is probably the simplest.
The important thing that makes me happy, and every day after work I feel my wife happy and my baby healthy, that's all.
When I first moved to Saskatchewan almost 13 years ago, I didn't know very much about the province either, like the Van Ewens did. And I often thought it was unfortunate that I didn't have a teacher like Miss Hardtack, who specializes in teaching immigrants about Saskatchewan.
Good afternoon, people, and welcome once again to Saskatchewan History and Orientation for Immigrants 202. As you know, I am your instructress, Miss Hardtack, and I will be with you throughout the entire 3-week course. Now, did you all do your homework for me? Remember, I asked you to pick up on some phrases. You did? Steve?
Slow down when driving through the orange zone.
Good, good. Very good. Yes. Anyone else? Steve?
Please call me a cab to Toronto.
Okay, you're a cab to Toronto. Little cultural humor. Next.
Oh, she is very shy.
Oh?
She's from New Brunswick.
Oh, I see. Well, we'll just pass right over you then. Now, what about your written assignment? Did anyone complete that?
My brother Steve and I came down with writer's cramp at the same time last night.
How tragic.
So we put together a little tune about the province, and I just happen to have a guitar here in my knapsack.
Well, isn't that lovely? Well, come on up here and share it with the class.
It's a song written about our fair province of Saskatchewan. Yes, we call it Province of Mounties. And you can sing along with the chorus. It's very easy.
Go for it.
Province of Mounties.
Very good.
Province of Mounties. It gets hot out on that combine. Oh, so hot. My old man, he ran out of Tripland too. They say the locusts are very bad this year. Again. And my hay fever, it is acting up. Achoo. Achoo. Province of Mounties.
Come on, I'm coming now.
Province
Come on,
of Mounties.
Everybody sing now, come on.
When I went driving on the prairies.
You know that, okay?
During my summer holidays.
Say that. Good for you.
Not only did I see 180 degrees of beautiful prairie sky, I also saw that porcupines and gophers are probably the worst hitchhikers in the world. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mounties.
Everybody over here too.
Province of Mounties.
That's good. You're scared of me. I like that.
When they say in the 30s there was hardship. And combines, I bet. For jobs, people pounded the street. For a nickel, they would collect gopher tails. But today we collect gas receipts.
Look alive, people.
Province. Sing along in Regina if you wish.
That's great.
Last one. Province of Mounties.
Oh, that's the spirit you get in Amen. I'm with them.
Oh, thank you.
Getting the hang of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's the spirit, Saskatchewan. Thank you very much. All right, the Mounties song. Big thank you to the Yikes Comedy Troupe up in Saskatoon for their unusual and offbeat help this evening. Excuse me. Hello, A&M Records, Province of Mounties. Yeah, 112 dozen. Yeah, bring them over here to the CBC. People are going crazy for them. I was just kidding, actually. We're going to be back to sum up the question and the answer. Will the spirit live on? Right after this 2-minute break.
I said earlier, 3 hours of live Fly by the Seat of Your Pants TV. We're out here working very hard with all the folks. Bill's taking it easy in the studio half the time, in the control room, where you have gum.
There's gum in the control room. It's great. It's the only thing that's kept me going this long.
Yeah? Is there a punchline?
I brought enough for everyone as long as there's only 4.
And it goes with the wine and cheese later on. Okay, right now what we want to do now, we heard from some famous people tonight and some people here in the studio who will be famous tomorrow. But over the past month or so, when we had our news cameras out on assignments, we talked to people on the street to find out, hey, why are you still in Saskatchewan?
I came to this province because there are more opportunities than where I came from. And I've been making my living here since 1949 and enjoyed every minute of it.
And I like Saskatchewan. This is my country. I was brought up here, and I enjoyed my life here. I never was at, well, I went to my son in Portland, Oregon. There is very beautiful to live. Very nice country, but it's hard for me to go there. I have to stay where I belong.
The type of people that made Saskatchewan, as I can recall it, going back into the 30s, when there was nothing. And nothing, I mean nothing. And they were dedicated. They stayed with it. They built Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan's got to be the best place in the country to live. The hunting, the fishing, as my husband would say. That was just him on the phone. Said, tell him the hunting's good. People are great here. I wouldn't live anywhere else.
And I like Saskatchewan because it's just as good a place as any place. I've worked all over the world, and I'd never retire any place but Canada.
It's nice and flat, and I like all the wheat fields and the prairies. I just feel at home here. When I go to the mountains, I like it there, but I'm so glad to come back home.
What I like about Saskatchewan is it's got excellent conditions for hockey in the wintertime.
And I like Saskatchewan because of the scenery.
Okay, now to wrap it up, we're back in the studio, and to many people, the very title of this program, Will the Spirit Live On, is a rhetorical question because they say the answer is obvious, yes. But there is room on this program for dissenting opinion, and I want to hear it now from Bill Brennan. Bill?
I'm struck by the fact that so much of what has been described as the Saskatchewan spirit tonight has been rooted in the development of a rural, agricultural economy and society. The fact of it is that in 1987, Saskatchewan is a very different province from what it was, say, in 1937. Far more urban, far less dependent upon king wheat. Can traditions and a spirit which was rooted in the creation of a rural agricultural economy survive in a province which is increasingly urbanized and which depends more and more upon potash, oil, uranium, and not so much on wheat anymore?
Yeah. Your friend Ross Keith wants to jump in here. You're itching.
Well, Bill Brennan started out by saying the spirit was doomed before we came on the air. And that's the point that he's making that I would disagree with very much. What has developed in Saskatchewan is it's a culture. It's a results-oriented, practical culture, and it comes from this rural tradition, but it will take different forms. What Saskatchewan has always been, and this can't be disputed, is a leader. We've changed the face of North America over the years. And Medicare, whether you agree or disagree with these things politically, no one can disagree that we would not have Medicare nationally had it not been here. Petro-Canada would not exist nationally if Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan did not exist here. Look at the fight against tuberculosis here, the effort that was mounted in the province with the resources they had at that time, and look for some instructions on how we might handle AIDS. Look at the Trade Union Act. Look at the co-ops, the credit unions. Those are the things that are the Saskatchewan tradition. That is what Saskatchewan has to offer. Now, the feature of society in North America right now is the sterility of the debate in politics. At our provincial level and at the federal level, look at the American politics. The pollsters are in total control. But look at the municipal level in Saskatchewan, and things are boiling. And that's coming forward again. Every 50 years, there's real change. And what gets change is models. And the society, and the cultures that create the models are those that are homogeneous, those that I'm struck tonight with the program, that how the common experience that's here.
Okay.
And that's what will carry us forward.
Point, counterpoint, quickly, Bill.
I would agree with Ross in the sense that it's not just the rural agricultural tradition of this province that has made the province a progressive province and a leader. One of the things that we've lost sight of tonight is the fact that there is an urban experience to this province that dates back to the very beginnings of Saskatchewan. And some of the things that Ross talks about owe as much to the urban experience of this province as to the rural experience.
Okay, we're going to have to end the debate there, but thanks very much. Okay, right now we'll go on back up to Saskatoon. Kathy?
Thanks, Richard. Well, I have here someone who can be called a pioneer of the 1980s. He's a scientist at the University of Saskatchewan, Dr. George Khatchatorians. Dr. Khatchatorians, will this spirit live on?
Well, you bet your nickel. From my perspectives and participating in what has been going on in the last decade, I think I have all sorts of reasons to say that it will go on. We will be the pioneers of tomorrow. The young people of Saskatchewan are going to be those pioneers. People of Saskatchewan have shown the spirit of being first class, the spirit of being experimentalists, the spirit of being innovators. With all of these ingredients and some of the breakthroughs we're making in science and technology, we will be seeing the transformation of the agriculture to a golden age of agriculture. And with this, we will be generating the leaders and the heroes of tomorrow, not just for Saskatchewan, perhaps for the world all over.
Now give us an idea then of what you're working on. I called you a pioneer. What are you beginning?
What we are beginning to work on is areas of biological technologies, genetic engineering, manufacturing of better and less harmful means of controlling our food, feed, animal resources, plants, and so forth and so on. We have been first, perhaps not in numbers, but case after case, we have had outstanding achievements and scientists in this place.
Thanks very much, Dr. Khatchatorians. And now I'd like to ask Mayor Cliff Wright, the mayor of Saskatoon, of course, who's been here all evening with us. Will this spirit live on?
Well, Kathy, it would be a tragedy of monumental proportion if it did not. But I believe it will. And I especially believe it will if we understand why the spirit has been in Saskatchewan all the time and not believe that we've just been some beneficiaries of some providential act. The fact of the founding of Saskatchewan, of the people moving here, the reason they moved here, in contrast to where they moved in many other places in the world. In other places, they moved to make a better living. They came to Saskatchewan to make a better life. Other places, it was a largely original male-oriented movement. They left their institutions at home. The people that came to Saskatchewan brought their institutions, and the most important of those institutions were the family. This province was built on a group of people who were prepared to undertake any amount of hardship and suffering and frustration because they knew and they believed fundamentally that their children were going to have a better life. And succeeding generations have adopted that same attitude. And it's working for tomorrow that is the spirit of Saskatchewan, working for a better life for our children. That is what the spirit is, and as long as that is here, the spirit will remain.
Thank you. And now we're going to go back to Connie Calder in Regina. Connie?
Well, I have a theory, you see, that I think that what really has developed the prairie spirit, what we've been talking about, and the pioneer spirit is the small town wedding dance, or the large town wedding dance, since they're all the same. I think that's what really has developed the stamina of this province, has been the butterfly. Really, you have to admit, it separates the weak from the strong. It is the interesting thing about the butterfly as well. It is only done in the prairies. The reason? It's a Métis dance. It combined all those cultures to eliminate the weak and infirm there. So the butterfly, the Ryan Coke, all those small town dance things, I'm going to take you back and end a program like they always end every small town program, every large town program. What is the last thing in the evening? The last waltz. So you can dance if you're out there and wherever you are. I kind of imagine this as being the largest last waltz if we had them up in Saskatoon waltzing and down here. Now don't be shy. I know all the men never want to dance. I know you got to drag them up. I'm not the kind to sit and pine for places far away. Every town I travel to has its charms and its delights, but something about the moon tonight sent a longing to my soul to be at a dance with the one I love on a warm prairie night. And I can hear that Margaret's waltz, that fiddle play so sweet, and I can feel the spring of the hardwood floor beneath my feet. I close my eyes and I see the lights of town twinkling at night. They say that home is where your heart is, and I guess they're right. All right, get up and waltz. Don't be shy. Now it's a buckle shiner. Oh, come on. Richard Perry, you have to be first. Come on, you've been torturing these people all night, making them talk. You have to dance now. Find a partner. Bingo. It's an old-time waltz. Is there any jellied salad at the end of this? Kubasa, pierogies. Ah, yes. If it wasn't for the last waltz, we wouldn't have the wedding dances a couple of months later. Bill Prokopchuk here.
Will the spirit live on? People in Saskatoon at Persephone Theatre say yes, it will. We'd like to thank everyone at Persephone who came out tonight. We weren't able to talk to everyone, but we're glad you showed up and took part, and we hope you enjoyed our show. Will the spirit live on?
And I are going to do a little bit of dancing. Richard, you having fun? This was great. I hope Shelley's not watching. We're going to keep dancing. A big thanks to all the people behind the scenes that pulled all this together. We really appreciate it. Hope you guys did.
That's right. A big tip of the hat, too, to CBC management for getting this thing on the air. 3 hours. Other stations across the country had the chance to do this, and they passed it up. And I think it's a real tribute to the people who work in this province to mount a production like this, and to producer Steve Glassman and all the people behind the scenes who put this on the air. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
So please forgive me, but tonight my thoughts are far away to the place my memory will go. If I give it half a chance, I smell the sage upon the air, and I walk in arm with the one I love towards the sound of an old-time country dance. And I can hear that Margaret's waltz, that fiddle play so sweet, and I can feel the spring on the hardwood floor beneath my feet. I close my eyes and I see the lights of town twinkling at night. They say that home is where your heart is. I guess they're right. What? Oh, I thought he said that we had run out of time.